Hi everybody at home, welcome to class. So a couple of announcements I want to make, especially class. I believe there are very few of you in here that have completed that cognition exam due to late arrival, last week not being in school, kind of a whole host of different reasons. I need that done by Thursday. So you guys decide when it works best for your time. They're all upstairs in the testing center. So go ahead, get it done. By Friday, whatever you have completed, I'm going to score it. Unless you have a personal conversation with me, maybe something has happened or we need to delay some things. But I need to make sure that you guys become disciplined to get that test done, because we're rolling into some very busy things coming up our way. We do not want that hanging over our head. So sometimes some of us are disciplined enough just to do it on our own. Others, you just need a little, here's your deadline. Can't take it after Thursday. So whatever time on Thursday that works for you. I know a lot of you guys are not in school 7 days or 7 periods. You can come in early. You could take it. You could do it over your study, because most of you have had already a really good jump on that test. You don't need the full 50 minutes. You could do it, some of you are out of school after this period, next period, 6 hours. Very few of you are here actually 7 full periods. So find some time in your day to get that done either today or Thursday, if that works best for you guys. Your homework tonight is 242 to 253. Yesterday we started class, I gave everybody in class one of these blue sheets, and I kept them on the board because they're that important. Friday in class during our Zoom call, I actually had you write them down. I had you tell me, what are the difference between classical conditioning and operant conditioning? To be able to identify which person goes in this column, which theory goes in this column, what are the ideas? That's a really easy memory technique to be able to do for yourself when you guys are trying to prepare for these tests. So some classes yesterday did very well. They were able to put them where they needed to be with very little error. Then I had other classes where kids were putting Pavlov and operant conditioning and Skinner under classical conditioning. We should be able to identify those major groupings, because that's going to help you guys as test takers. So Pavlov talked about the stimulus first, then the actual response, and that response was automatic. We went into cognition with Garcia and taste aversion. Hopefully we're all understanding what that is. Then we moved into Thorndike law of effect, where he stated rewarded behaviors are more likely to reoccur. B.F. Skinner with behavior first, then your rewards and punishments. Followed up, we talked a little bit about shaping when we had Sam do our shaping online, and we actually had him do an action for us. Then yesterday, after we talked about that, I took them over here, and this is where we kind of concluded on Friday with you guys. I showed you that slide. I said this is a really important slide. I color-coded it just like the slide on your PowerPoint. We talked about positive and negative reinforcement and punishment as well, and how reinforcement is when you increase an action. Punishment is when you're decreasing the behavior. You're giving something, you're taking something away. Your homework was supposed to be to take that worksheet. We finished like the first 2. You're supposed to take that worksheet, complete it, and then yesterday what we did in class is we went over those answers. I'm hoping that you took some time to watch that video, checked your answers on that. What I would like to do is check your understanding for our new learning that we did yesterday, which was on schedules of reinforcement. So if you guys don't mind taking out a scrap piece of paper and number it 1 to 5, that would be great. So I have 5 questions here. And what I would like you to do is, only using the notes from the board where it says ratio, interval, fixed, and variable, those are fine, you can use them. Answer these questions. Don't use your other notes. If you read and you watched the video yesterday, this should be a really nice review for you. If you didn't do either one of those things, where you didn't read, you're not up to date, you didn't watch the video, this is going to look a bit foreign to you, but it's a good gut check before Friday to see where we're all at. No, I'm sorry, before Thursday, because you guys will be taking it on Thursday. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Go, Sam. Last but not least, yeah. Take a second. Again, don't be afraid to use these and the symbols I have over there. They're all have a meaning to them. I see that some of you are done. Just take a big breath. This is time to just catch yourself a little bit. And the rest of you that are still working, just go ahead and complete that. Kind of all awkwardly placed over here, but I'm going to do something with this over here in just a minute. What I'd like you guys to do now is just turn to whomever's near you, and 2, 3 people, it doesn't matter. Go over your answers. See if you have some problems where you want to discuss them. Go ahead.
I thought maybe it's not always like sure. Yeah.
Okay, so at home, what we are doing right now is we are actually going over 4 more problems for the schedules of reinforcement, because we all went over that in person class. You guys are just waiting patiently, and pretty soon we're going to be wrapping that up after see how well they did, and we'll go on to our new learning for today. So that's what we are doing in class right now, just in case you were wondering. Thanks. All right. So if you guys take a look at that chart, the meaning behind that chart, this is just a really quick Cliff Note version of what we went over yesterday. Schedules of reinforcement are usually divided in one of these quadrants. If it's a ratio, we are talking about the number of responses. Certain number of responses are needed. Fixed, obviously, it's set number of responses. And then we have variable, which is an indefinite amount of responses. Interval always means time, time of day, clock time, calendar time, day of the week. That's what we're talking about. So fixed interval versus variable interval. So one is fixed. The example I used yesterday in class, I said some of you may have had Mrs. Knoll, and she every Thursday would always do these challenges. You knew on Thursday when you would come in that was Thursday, that there was going to be a challenge that she did because of the day of the week. Last year, I did what was called, imagine this, Wellness Wednesday. And every Wednesday, when students would come in, we would talk about mind, body, and spirit in some way, shape, or form for about 10 minutes. And kids just knew on Wednesday this was expected. Variable would be, we don't know. So like you guys coming in today and pretending I just gave you those 5 questions and said that's a pop quiz. I'm going to grade that on you. You know, a little bit more unexpected, and you weren't ready for that because it was indefinite time. I didn't give you the date. So let's go over our answers. I'm not going to reread these out loud, but I would, please, please, please stop me. There's only 5 of them. I got one of them wrong, and you're wondering why. Now's a good time to ask, okay? Elena, what'd you put for number 1? You or your group?
Variable ratio.
You put variable ratio. What did you put, Taylor?
Fixed interval.
Fixed interval. Okay, what'd you put, Ella? We're going right up the line here.
Variable interval.
It is variable interval. Let's look at that. So it has to be indefinite. When we look at Tina wants the slugs, but she can only do it after it rains, is that a set time? Do we know the date when it's going to rain for sure? No, so it has to be variable, right? And is it dependent on the day of the week, the time of day that it rains? Yes, that's why it's interval, variable interval. Questions on that one? My nose itches. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to come back to number 2. Reese, what'd you get for 3?
I said fixed ratio.
Emma?
Fixed ratio.
And Corey? And it is fixed ratio. That was a pretty straightforward one. Good. Taylor Wiskus, number 4.
I put variable.
What'd you put, Josh?
Variable interval.
Sam?
Fixed ratio.
And Missy over here, Abby. And so it looks like we have some variety. It's variable ratio. Here's a tip. Gambling is always, if you see a gambling question on schedules of reinforcement, it's always VR, always. It's variable, and did I say variable interval?
No.
I said variable ratio, right? Yeah, VR. It's always variable ratio for gambling. They love to put gambling questions down. Even though you guys aren't of age to legally gamble, you all at least know what it looks like. You've seen enough movies. When we're talking a slot machine, do I know if I pull that slot machine 5 times, every 5 times am I guaranteed to win? No. So it's variable, right? You see that why it's variable? And then is it based on the time of day that it's going to release a winning, or is it based on how many times people do it? So how many pulls? So we're talking about variable ratio. You guys, VR, put down for gambling. Don't forget it. This is how gamblers become addicts, if you're curious. I don't know if anybody knows anybody with a gambling situation, but it keeps them coming back because you keep thinking, oh, the next time I'm going to make the big one, the next time. And there's sometimes no next time. Number 5, Ella.
Fixed interval.
Okay, Bethany.
Variable interval.
Okay, who else haven't we called on? I think we called on everybody. Okay, that one is fixed interval. That one can be a little tricky. Why is it fixed and why is it an interval? Because what they're saying is, generally speaking, does the male person come about the same time every day in a normal situation? Yes. Maybe you are looking at this like, not my male person, but typically the male does get delivered about the same time. So it's more of a fixed, and because it's time of day, we're talking about interval. Now let's go back to number 2. Okay, guys, number 2's answer is not one of those 4 quadrants. Look at the question. Which reinforcement schedule would facilitate rapid learning? Quick learning, quick learning. All right, follow me. This was the beginning of my lecture. If Sam does something correct, every time Sam does something right, I give him a Skittle, every single time. That's called continuous, okay? That's also called immediate. That's also called immediate. If Abby does something right and I wait till tomorrow to give her her reward, that's called delayed. Do you see the difference? So I'm rewarding him right away and rewarding him every single time. The fastest way to get somebody to learn something is through continuous reinforcement. That's the correct answer. That's a test question. Continuously reinforcing. I used the example in the video yesterday about when I potty train my dogs. Every single time I would give them a treat. I would never, ever deviate until I knew they were potty trained. And it was very quickly they learned, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to go to the bathroom because I want a treat. They were easily trained that way. Last test question, and then we're going to move on. Which of these four is going to lead to the least amount of extinction? Meaning it's going to be the best learning for the long haul. People aren't going to forget it. People are going to learn and hold on to it longer.
Is it variable ratio?
Something.
Variable
Interval. You don't know the time of day and you don't know when it's going to happen. It just keeps you on your toes. Okay. All right. These can get passed up to Ab. That's our old learning. Today our new learning is on the board. We're talking about learning target E, cognition in conditioning. So we talked about this when we talked about classical conditioning. We brought up John Garcia. Today we're going to bring up a man by the name of Edward Tolman. The words you guys should know are underlined here. So Edward Tolman with cognitive map and latent learning. I'm going to go over that in just a little bit. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, need to know that. And then over-justification effect. This is the entire notes, not much. Most of it is pretty easy to understand. It's just a matter of remembering it for you. So I'm going to do a little activity to begin our class today to hopefully get you to be able to get it to stick a little bit longer than just simply writing down the definitions and what I'm talking about. And some of this is so short, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about when I do these abbreviations and arrows all over the place anyway. So we're going to get started. Everybody is going to come over to this side of the room in just a minute, except Bethany, and everybody is going to participate except Bethany. You are all going to, I have made a grid over here, a 4x4 grid. Your job will be one at a time to find the pattern of the grid. You have to figure it out in your head. So if you step on the right box, I will ding you. If you step on the wrong box, you go to the end of the line and then you try again. The rules are pretty simple. No boxes can be reused twice. So you don't need to worry about stepping on the same box 2 times. So you're going to go to 1 to 16. Any questions? You're going to get to a spot where you can see the people going in front of you. We'll go one at a time. We're all going to stand up. Bethany, your job is to watch. So you can stand up so you can see. Here we go, Papes.
So there's like a set pattern you have this, and you still figure it out?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And like 4 of the boxes, 1 box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you see how I... Go ahead. Give us a start.
Oh.
Wrong. Go the end of the line. We'll just keep the line moving. Wrong. 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 End of the line, Josh. Keep the line moving. Yes, good. Ding.
Should I keep going?
Yes. Wrong. No.
No.
Nope. Nope. you. Nope. Nope. Back to the beginning. Nope. Nope.
I don't even remember what we do this. Yeah.
Don't tell her. Nope. Nope. No. Nope. Nope.
No.
I'm gonna forget all that.
Nope.
Okay, now I have to think. I can't figure out what you're like.
Don't tell her. No. That's off the grid.
Oh, I thought it was on the grid.
Nope.
I literally went off the grid. It's fine.
Okay. I know.
No.
No, I just can't remember this whole song.
No.
I think she might care.
No. Oh, no. Sorry. You're off.
What?
Yeah, you're off.
Oh.
Sorry, I rang too early. Here we go, Reese. No. No. Back to the original. Ab.
I'm no person.
I mean, she's the one that got us this far. No.
So we're touching one switch.
Yeah. Or two is fine. Doesn't matter. Well, where's the next box? No. No. How many times? You guys are all going to the same boxes. It is. No.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't remember what it was. I can't tell that.
There we go. Come on, Taylor. Only each box is touched one time. Nope. Taylor number 2. Good girl.
I forget.
No, you don't. You got it. Yes. You're good. No, that's not all. But is
Are we done?
no. You're on box 11. You've got to get to 16.
Oh.
Just think about the ones you haven't touched.
This is awkward.
Use
I'm like
that.
stuck right in
Oh my God. No. You did really good, Taylor. Don't tell him. Ding, 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 ding. All right, one more time. Here we go. Come on, Reese. Good, good, good. Yep, yep. Yes. 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 I'm buzzing you out, Reese. Nope. One last time. Let's see if you can get it. Yep, Cor. Good, good, good. Yes. Nope.
You just did.
Nobody's gotten it yet, except the first one. Keep going, Sam. Come on. Sam is gonna go straight. What was that? You're doing good. You're doing good. Good. Yes. 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 No.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. 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 Uh-huh. 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 No. Look how fast she's moving. Zooming, zooming, zooming. Where do we go? This corner is driving you crazy, people. Don't tell her. No.
That was your third one. Next one.
There you go. There you go. Quick, quick, quick. No.
I forgot. Tells me I don't know.
No. Yep. That's right. Good, good, good. Nice job. Yes, perfect. Did you all go twice?
I have not gone twice.
Have you gone twice, Taylor? Or, I meant
one that
since we, yes. Okay, so your last one. Here we go. Give it a shot. She just did it again, so you should be fresh in your brain. Yes. Quick. Come on. Yes, perfect. All right, take a seat, everybody. This was our little rap maze. Everybody participated except Bethany. There's a reason, and all I told Bethany to do was watch you all. That's it. So now it's Bethany's turn. She's going to come up to the board, and she's going to write in the pattern. How many of you feel like you could do this pretty confidently right now?
Actually, yeah, maybe.
Okay, I'll start you, Bethany. This is number 1. Okay, come on up. Let's see what you can recall. Don't tell her if she's wrong. That's it. So you're at 5, which is here.
Yeah.
Good. Come back this way. Good. Uh-huh. Oh, you forgot 12. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. She only had one error. She didn't get to do it at all. She just watched you. And in fact, what I thought was kind of complicated, I didn't even tell her where to stand, and she was watching you from the reverse angle. She was upside down. All right. Why did I have you do this? Why did I build this little rat maze? Wanted you to think about the direction, where you needed to go, pull it into your memory, and then continue it on. Because I wanted to demonstrate these terms. I think they would stay a little bit longer with you. So our guy is Edward Tolman. Edward Tolman came up with these two things right here. He did a study of rats. In your book, they talk about it. And they talk about how he put the rats in a maze and he just wanted them to explore it, just explore it. Later, much later, he gave them a reward. And they were able to get in and out of there like no time. What he was showing was these rats not only could remember, but they demonstrated learning, but they demonstrated the learning later. All right, let's talk about operant conditioning. B.F. Skinner is a behaviorist. He believes that all behavior should be observable, that everything you learn is going to be able to be observed by someone else. Following me? Observable behavior. That's pretty simple. Tolman's going to come in and say, sometimes we learn and we don't demonstrate that learning until later. Sometimes we learn and we house it. We put it in our back pocket. We put it in our back pocket or the backpack that we carry along with us. And sometimes minutes later, like Bethany showed us, she had learned it. And sometimes years later, we demonstrate that we learned it. So latent learning, the very unscientific way I've always remembered what latent learning means is I think of the word later. That's it. It just sounds like later to me. And it's when you show learning later, you don't show immediately. So you kind of put it, and it becomes this hidden learning. So let me give you an example. When I was a young girl, my mother used to set the table for all of us. And then one day she said to me, Sandra Jean, I want you to set the table. And I had not been shown technically. She didn't show me that day. But I picked up the plates and I picked up the utensils and I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing. This is years later. And I demonstrated that I had learned it, but not immediately. Taking B.F. Skinner's theory of observational learning and you only learn if you have a reward or punishment, that's not necessarily true. I learned it and I didn't have a reward or punishment when I was learning it. Did I tell you what I wanted you to do? Just to watch. She had no idea what she was going to do with that. None. She didn't know if she was going to graph it, if I was going to ask her questions about that. And so she demonstrated later that she had learned that actual map. So far, so good? Let's get a modern day example. When have you in your life learned something, but you didn't demonstrate it till later that you learned it? Elena.
When I first learned to drive, I knew how to get places without actually having driven there.
Okay. Yeah. So let's shelf that idea because that's a great idea for cognitive map, but I'm keep that idea with driving. How many of you, when you first got in the automobile, the very first time when you were put behind the wheel, when you were just getting your permit, you all knew how to start that car? Every single one of you, I would put a lot of money, especially if it was the same type of like a start. Some of our cars now are electric starts, we know that, but if your driver's ed car was the same car that you had with a key start, nobody told you, in order to start that car, Taylor, you need to put the key in the car. You just knew that. That was something you learned and you demonstrated later. Give me another example. Where in your life have you learned something but you didn't show it until much later in your life?
no one really taught you how to do that. You kind of just learned it on your own.
And maybe they did even teach you, like when you were really little, I'm sure your parent, I mean, you do, as a parent, you have to wash the kids' hair for them. But eventually, someday, you just did it on your own. Your mom and dad, weirdly enough, didn't come in that shower and teach you. You just did it yourself and you knew what you were supposed to be doing. That's another good example. Latent learning. Key it in your brain. Later learning. You learn it, but you don't demonstrate that you learned it until later. Now, cognitive map, I'm bringing you back to Elena's example of demonstrating how to get to a place, is a great example of a cognitive map. That grid over there was your cognitive map. Your cognitive map, the shorthand definition, is a mental image. You create a mental image of a place, a location, anything like that. You just create it in your brain. And you don't show us until much later, until you need to, that you know how to get there. So you guys have a fairly large class for my psych classes. There were 10 of you over here. If you're number 9 or 10 in the line, you couldn't demonstrate that you knew where to go until it was your turn. Following me here on the cognitive map? Now let's bring it to real life. Where else have you learned where to go, how to get there, et cetera, and you didn't show it until you got behind that wheel or you entered that building, but you knew exactly what to do because of previously being taught that. What did you say, Elena, about the car? What was your example?
Like,
Where to go?
yeah, like I never learned how to get to school, but like
Yes.
I learned how to get there and then.
It's my number one example. I love that example. How many of you, if you just think about this is just a rhetorical question, but well, no, this is not a rhetorical question. Were any, okay, corner, your brain's thinking too fast. I have 2 examples I want to put. One is the driving. When you guys got behind the wheel for the very first time to come up to Hempstead when you were allowed to drive, I would assume that there wasn't anybody in here that someone at home said to you, now, let me show you the directions on how to get to Hempstead High School. Am I right by that? They might have said to remind you about driving safely, but I'm telling you, no one in here, probably your parents or someone at home, said, now, when you leave our driveway, you're going to turn here and turn here. Why? They didn't have to, because you developed a cognitive map about how to get here from all the years of being driven here. Makes sense? Now, how about the building? My second thought. Any of you products of being up here as a young child? Maybe you had older siblings up here. Nobody came up here before your freshman year much? Did you?
Like for basketball games.
So you came up for games. Yep. Anybody else? What
I
did?
had an older brother, so I was here for like conferences.
Yeah, like you just kind of were in the building. So the very first, basically what I'm asking, was there anyone in here where your first time freshman year, when you came in this building, that was not your first time in the building? You had been here before, right? Did you develop a cognitive map of where that gym was? Of where some of the layout, the basic layout? You did. And nobody said to Corey, hey, make sure you remember this, did they? Nobody said you were going to get rewarded later in your life if you remember where this gym is located. He just did. And then he demonstrated it later, 5 years, 6 years later, or whenever, when he came up here as a freshman and he showed, he developed a cognitive map of that. If I went into your house tonight, cut your electricity, would you know where your bed is? If it's pitch black in your bedroom? You would. You would, because you develop a cognitive map of that layout. Same thing with our classroom. Although the desk might be a little different, you know my desk is up there, right? So we develop these cognitive maps. Do you see how it doesn't demonstrate our learning until later sometimes? Proving Skinner, you're not 100% correct that we are actually going to get rewarded or punished right away and we learn something. Are we feeling okay about those 2 words? Let's move on to the next 2. You need to know what the difference is between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation is. Turn to your partner and explain the difference in the definition. First hour today, nobody really knew it. So come up with what you think. What do you think intrinsic motivation is, and what do you think extrinsic motivation is? Go ahead, then we'll share it.
I remember reading about it. Yeah, it's something like
You're okay. You can look.
I didn't think we had one because it was like reading last night, and then I looked in the packet to see if there was a test on it, and it wasn't on there. So
Okay.
I didn't know.
And you will. You'll see some things.
I wasn't sure.
So that's why I'm bringing it up. That's a good point. Okay, intrinsic. Think of inside of you. You are motivated to do something purely because you want to. You're not receiving a reward or punishment. Give me an example. Turn to your partner of an example in your life where you are motivated to do something just because you like it. You're not receiving a reward or a punishment. Go ahead.
When I was a kid, I used to do Derby cars. I was just, I thought it was fun.
Because I like people. And one day I'll play rock, paper, scissors with the both of y'all. I don't know. No, I don't want to play rock, paper. Like, this is he didn't want to do what I was saying. It ruined what he wanted to do.
Okay? Reese, give me yours.
Watching YouTube.
Taylor?
I said like playing a sport.
Lynn?
Going to practice, something.
Hobby.
Do you have one? What is yours?
Video games.
Video games. Here we go.
Sleeping.
Sleeping. Yours, napping. Eating.
I also say video games.
Video games. Painting. Baking.
Climbing trees.
Climbing trees.
I said like when I was a kid, I used to do playing with derbies.
Sure. Just because. Just because. Remember those days when you used to do something just because it was fun. Intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivator. Give me an example of an extrinsic motivator. These are easier. You do something because you're rewarded or punished. Great. Give me more.
Going to work.
That a girl. Sorry, people at home. But if I did win the lottery tomorrow, I don't ever play, so I can't win. I would not be coming to work tomorrow. I'd probably say A's for all and see you later because I'm here because I get a paycheck, right? An external reward. So we have intrinsic and extrinsic motivators. These seem to be understood by all of you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does anybody have any questions? Here's the big word then. You need to understand this one. Over-justification effect. This is when you do something because you love it, and then later you get a reward, and then that love for it goes way down. Give me an example. You start off, you love it, and then now you have a reward or a punishment because of it, and the love for it decreases, diminishes. Do you have one, Corey?
I was gonna say like, if you play games and you start getting competitive, you kind of lose the fun aspect and it starts getting more.
Yeah. And you could take that to another level, but we'll start at that level. If you guys can even remember when you were probably 5, 6, 7, any games that used to play in your backyard and literally you just did it because it was fun for you. You weren't thinking about a college or a varsity game. You were just doing it because it was super fun. And then somewhere along the line, that may have lost its love because people put some other value on it. In last period, my second hour, I have 2 D1 athletes in there, and they went on and talked about how, and this is a really good example, many people that go on to play professional sports or collegiate level sports and have scholarships, that love for that sport starts to diminish because it's now a job. They've turned it into a job for them. Make sense? This is called the over-justification effect. It sounds so simple, but a ton of kids miss it. I think they miss it because they overlook it. But it's really not a complicated concept, and it happens frequently. We knew a contractor who was a really good contractor, and that's what he did for a living. And I remember saying to him one time when he was over doing some work on our house, "Oh my God, your house must look, gorgeous. Like you must have so much woodworking done and stuff." And he's like, "I absolutely hate doing it now." And he took a hobby that he loved to do, and he did it well, and he started getting paid for it. And then that pain diminished that love. Maybe you guys can relate when you were little. I don't know if any of you were really good avid readers and you just liked to read. Like before you got to school and there were grades and shit, and you would pick up a book and you would just read because it was fun and you enjoyed the story. Then all of a sudden schools came into play. And they said, you have to read this. And if you don't, you're not going to get a good grade, right? We start putting those punitive punishments or rewards on people. And that love for reading now is like, and now how many of you who had that love no longer pick up books on your own? It's, not as much as you used to. Maybe some of you in here can relate to that. So do you understand over-justification effect? Good. Those major concepts I wanted you to get out of today. Ella brought up a point. She said, I remember reading about intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, but I didn't write them down because it wasn't on the list. You should know what they are, okay? Those are pretty simple. You're motivated to do something because of something internal or external. I hope you all have a great day. Your homework tonight is to read and to get in and get that test taken. Have a good day, everybody at home. We'll see you tomorrow.